There is $1,400 sitting in your checking account right now. Maybe it's $900. Maybe it's $2,300. Maybe it's a little more. But you already know the feeling. That number on the screen looks fine until you remember the car registration is due next month, and the dentist appointment you've been delaying, and the fact that one of your tires is making a sound it wasn't making 6 weeks ago. And suddenly the number doesn't look fine anymore. It looks like a countdown. Most people live inside that countdown their entire adult lives. Working, earning, paying, surviving. The account goes up, then it goes down, then it goes back up, and then something happens. Something that was always going to happen. Something completely normal. Something that life does to every single person eventually. And the account goes back down to nothing. And here is the thing nobody says out loud. There is a specific dollar amount where that cycle stops. Not because you become rich, not because your income suddenly doubles, but because something shifts in the way your brain handles money entirely. That number is $12,000, and there is a rule about it that most people never learn. And the cost of ignoring it is much higher than the number itself. What you're about to hear is not a savings plan. It is not a budgeting lecture. It is the explanation of why two people can earn the exact same paycheck, live in the same city, pay the same bills, and end up in completely different financial lives, and why the gap between them starts at exactly this number. By the end of this, you will understand why $12,000 is not just savings. It is the line between reacting to your life and actually building one. And once you see how the math works, you will not be able to unsee it. Let's start with the feeling. You know what financial panic actually feels like in your body. It is not dramatic. It does not come in a big wave. It is quiet. It is the half-second delay before you open your banking app. It is checking the price on the menu before you decide what you want. It is the way your jaw tightens when your phone rings from a number you don't recognize because some part of your brain files unknown numbers under bill collector before your conscious mind has time to disagree. This is not a personality flaw. This is what happens to a human brain when it lives without a financial buffer. And most people have no idea how much that constant low-level panic is actually costing them. Here is the part that changes everything. Panic is not just an emotion. Panic is a decision-making filter. When your brain is in financial stress mode, it automatically shortens your time horizon. Instead of asking, what is the best decision for the next 3 years? It asks, what gets me through this Thursday? And that shift, from long-term thinking to Thursday thinking, is one of the most expensive things that can happen to a person. Thursday thinking is why people put a $900 car repair on a credit card charging 22% interest. The Thursday version of that decision is, I need the car to work. I need the car to get to work. This solves the immediate problem. The long-term version of that decision is, this repair just became a $1,200 repair over the next 8 months of minimum payments, and the interest I pay this year could have been $1,200 toward the buffer that would have prevented this entire situation. Thursday thinking is why people stay in jobs they hate, because leaving requires a gap, and a gap requires money you don't have. So you stay. And every month you stay, you are paying a tax that never shows up on your bank statement, the tax of not being able to leave. Thursday thinking is why people accept bad deals, agree to things they shouldn't, and consistently underestimate their own options. Not because they are bad at money, because their brain is busy surviving and survival mode and wealth building mode cannot run at the same time. The $12,000 rule is the rule that turns off Thursday thinking, and here is exactly how. Imagine two people. Let's call them Naomi and Curtis. Same income, $4,200 a month take home. Same city, same rent, same general life. The only difference? Naomi has $800 in savings. Curtis has $12,000 in a separate account he does not touch for daily expenses. In March, both of them get hit with the same situation. A water heater fails. The repair quote is $100. For Naomi, this is a crisis. She puts it on a credit card. She makes minimum payments for the next 6 months. The $100 a repair becomes $1,340 after interest. More importantly, she cannot save anything meaningful for the next 6 months because the minimum payment is pulling from the same budget she was trying to use for savings. One repair sets her back by almost a year. For Curtis, the same $100 repair is genuinely annoying. He pays it. His $12,000 becomes $10,900. He rebuilds it over the next 2 months. By May, he is back to his baseline. The emergency cost him 2 months of rebuilding. It did not cost him 12 months of debt. Same emergency, same income, radically different life experience. But here is the part most people miss. The math is not the most important part. The most important part is what the repair did to Naomi's brain versus Curtis's brain. Naomi now has credit card debt, which means she has a monthly payment, which means she has less money available each month for the next 6 months, which means the next small emergency, And there will be a next small emergency. Hits her even harder because she has even less buffer than before. This is not bad luck. This is a structural feedback loop. Low buffer creates expensive decisions. Expensive decisions lower the buffer further. Lower buffer creates even more expensive decisions next time. Curtis, on the other hand, paid cash and moved on. His brain filed it as inconvenience resolved. He did not enter the loop. This is the $12,000 rule. Not that the number is magic, but that crossing this specific threshold is what takes you out of the loop entirely. And I am not done yet, because there is a second thing that $12,000 does that almost nobody talks about, and it might be even more valuable than the emergency protection. It changes how you show up at work. When you have no savings, your job has enormous power over you. Your employer can be unreasonable, and you absorb it because you need Thursday's paycheck. Your hours can be cut, your workload can increase, your raise can be denied, and you can say almost nothing because you cannot afford the gap between this job and the next one. Most people do not realize how much this dynamic affects their actual earning over a career. If you stay in an underpaying job for 2 extra years because you cannot afford to leave, the cost is not just 2 years of slightly lower salary. The cost is the career trajectory you missed, the experience you did not get at the better company, the network you did not build, the skill set that did not compound. 2 years of Thursday thinking can quietly cost you a decade of progress. But when you have $12,000 in a separate account, something shifts. You do not walk into the office acting reckless. You do not burn bridges or make speeches, but you negotiate differently. You ask for things you would have silently accepted not getting before. You interview for better positions because you know you could survive a 2-month gap if you had to. You are calmer in uncomfortable conversations because the outcome does not feel life or death anymore. Desperation has a smell. Employers know it, clients know it, and when you are not desperate, you make better deals. Here's the number on that. The average American who switches jobs earns about 15% more than someone who stays put and waits for a raise. If your current salary is $55,000, that gap is $8,250 per year. Over 5 years of not being able to make the move because you had no buffer, that is over $40,000 in foregone income from the same job market, same skills, same person, just without the $12,000 that would have made the move possible. This is why most people dramatically underestimate what the first $12,000 is worth. They think about it as savings. It is actually career capital. Now, let's talk about the part that sounds obvious but almost no one actually does correctly. Building the $12,000. The math is not the hard part. If you save $400 a month, you get there in 30 months. If you save $600 a month, you get there in 20 months. If a tax refund or a bonus drops in and you put $2,000 straight into the account, you might cut 8 months off the timeline. The math is straightforward. The hard part is the identity problem. Most people have never held $12,000 in an account before, which means every time they get close, $4,000, $6,000, $8,000, their brain starts generating reasons to spend it. The vacation that finally feels affordable, the upgrade that suddenly seems justified, the loan to a family member framed as temporary, the investment opportunity that feels urgent. This is not weakness. This is what happens when your identity has not yet caught up to your balance. You are operating the behaviors of someone who saves, but your internal self-image is still the person who spends what they have. And that gap between the behavior and the identity is where most people fall off. The fix is to stop thinking of $12,000 as a goal and start thinking of it as a rule. The rule is, this account does not go below $12,000 for anything that is not a genuine emergency. Not a deal, not an upgrade, not a really good reason. A genuine emergency, car breaks, medical bill, job loss, family crisis. That is the list. Everything else is not a reason. When the rule is clear, the decision is simple. Not easy, simple. Every time you are tempted, the answer is already decided. You do not have to weigh the vacation against the buffer every time the vacation sounds appealing. The rule already decided. The rule says no. You move on. But wait, there is a third layer to this that changes the entire picture. And this is where most savings advice completely misses the point. The $12,000 is not the destination. It is the Launchpad. Most people think of savings as protection, and it is. But once you cross $12,000, the protection does its job in the background, and your brain is finally free to do something it could not do before. Think about growth. Let's walk through the math on this specifically. Once your $12,000 foundation is secured, let's say you start investing $350 a month consistently, which is much easier to do when you are not draining your savings account every time life happens. At an average annual return of 7%, which reflects the long-run historical average of a broad index fund, $350 a month over 30 years becomes roughly $425,000. Now compare that to someone who tried to invest before they had the buffer. Every time the market dipped 10%, they panicked because their emergency fund was in the market. They sold, they locked in losses, they reinvested late after the recovery. They did this 2 or 3 times over a decade, and instead of riding the compounding curve, they kept interrupting it. Their actual outcome, closer to $180,000 from the same $350 per month input, because consistency was broken by the emergencies that the buffer would have absorbed. The $12,000 rule is not conservative advice. It is the prerequisite for aggressive wealth building. You cannot compound what you keep selling. Most people never learn this. They are told to invest as soon as possible, and they do, and then life happens, and they pull the money, and then they feel like investing doesn't work for them. It is not that investing doesn't work. It is that investing without a buffer is like planting seeds and then digging them up every time it rains. Let's talk about how to actually build this in the real world, not in theory, in your actual life. The single most important structural change you can make is separating the account. Not just mentally, physically, a different bank if possible, or at minimum a different account with a name that signals its purpose. Emergency foundation. Do not touch. Whatever removes the psychological ease of spending it. The reason this matters, money in the same account as you're spending money is not savings. It is spending money with extra steps. Your brain does not distinguish between $1,400 for bills and $400 you were hoping to save if it all sits in the same place. The separation creates friction. Friction creates pause. Pause is what protects the balance. The second change is automation. The month you decide to save what is left over is the month nothing gets saved. There is never anything left over. Income comes in, life fills the space, and you look at your account on the 28th wondering where the money went. The fix is to move money to the separate account the same day income arrives, not after bills, not after expenses, before. Even if it is $150, even if it is $75, the habit is the point before the amount is the point. The third change is being honest about your biggest leaks. Most savings advice talks about coffee and subscriptions. And yes, 3 forgotten subscriptions at $14 a month each is $504 a year, which is real money. But the $12,000 problem is rarely solved by cutting coffee. It is solved by addressing housing, transportation, food delivery, and high-interest debt. The 4 categories that together can consume $1,500 to $1,500 per month for people earning $4,000 to $5,500 take-home. If one of those 4 is out of alignment with your income, no amount of subscription canceling fixes it. Let me give you a real example of what I mean by alignment. Let's say Bianca takes home $4,400 a month. Her rent is $1,450. Her car payment is $490. Her insurance is $210. That's $2,150 in fixed committed costs before food, utilities, or anything else. She has $2,150 left. After groceries, utilities, phone, gas, and a modest food delivery habit, she has roughly $400 of theoretical breathing room. But that $400 is also her clothing budget, her social life, her medical copays, her random expenses. In practice, she saves nothing. Not because she is irresponsible, because the structure of her fixed costs leaves no room. The $12,000 rule for Bianca is not a savings challenge. It is a fixed costs audit. One decision, a less expensive car next lease cycle, or a roommate situation for 12 months, or taking on one additional income stream, restructures the entire equation. Not forever, just long enough to build the foundation. Once the $12,000 is there, the options that open up make the temporary sacrifice look like the best trade she ever made. Here is the last thing, and this is the part that matters most. The money is not the real point. Let me say that again. The $12,000 is not actually about $12,000. It is about what happens to your self-image when you prove to yourself that you can set a number and reach it. When most people hit their first $12,000, something changes that is hard to describe until you experience it. You start to trust yourself differently, not arrogantly, quietly. The way you trust a chair you have sat in 100 times, not because you are thinking about it, but because you have evidence. And that trust compounds the same way money compounds. Once you know you can build $12,000, $24,000 does not feel like a fantasy. It feels like a longer version of something you have already done. And once $24,000 is real, investing $500 a month consistently does not feel like a sacrifice. It feels like the obvious next step. And once consistent investing is the obvious next step, the 30-year math, the $425,000, the retirement, the options, the freedom, stops being a statistic you heard in a YouTube video and starts being a plan you are actually executing. But none of that is available at $800 in checking. None of it. Not because the math is different, but because the person is different. At $800, you are surviving Thursday. At $12,000, you are building a decade. Let me bring back Naomi and Curtis for a moment. 4 years after the water heater incident, here is where they are. Naomi has been trying. She has saved and spent, never quite crossing $3,000 before something happens. She is not in disaster. She is just still in the loop, still on the countdown, still checking the account with that half-second pause. Curtis has had $12,000 in the foundation account for 3 years now. He has also been investing $350 a month into a broad index fund for 28 months. He has not touched the investments. He has rebuilt the foundation account twice after emergencies. His net worth, including the investments, is now around $22,000. He does not look different. He does not drive a different car. He has not told anyone at work, but his relationship to his own life is completely different. He does not check his account with a tight jaw. He stopped doing that around month 14. He negotiated a raise last year because he knew he could survive being told no. He is not rich, not even close, but he is no longer one emergency away from panic. And that distance between his life and chaos is widening every single month. That is what the $12,000 rule actually buys. Not luxury, not freedom, not the end of financial stress, just enough distance from the edge that you can finally start moving in the right direction without being pulled back. This week, one thing. Open a separate account. Name it something that signals its purpose. Move $100 into it today. Not because $100 changes your life, because the account that eventually holds $12,000 has to start somewhere, and it starts with the decision to take it seriously. The amount comes later. The decision comes now. This month, one thing. Calculate your actual fixed costs, housing, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments, and see what percentage of your take-home they represent. If it is above 55%, the $12,000 problem is a fixed cost problem, not a discipline problem. That audit tells you where to focus. This year, one thing, do not touch the foundation account, no matter what reasonable-sounding reason your brain generates. A vacation is not an emergency. An upgrade is not an emergency. An opportunity that requires spending your emergency fund is an opportunity that was never designed for you. Protect the foundation. Everything else gets built above it. Most people will hear all of this and nod and do nothing. Not because they do not want to, because the gap between understanding and acting is wider than it looks, and most people underestimate how much Thursday thinking is running in the background, quietly making decisions before their conscious mind gets involved. But the people who act, who open the account this week, who do the audit this month, who protect the number this year, those people are doing something that looks completely ordinary from the outside. Same salary, same city, same life. Until suddenly it isn't. The $12,000 rule does not make you rich overnight. It makes you harder to break. It makes your decisions better. It makes your career worth more. It makes your investments actually compound. And it proves to you in a way that no video ever could that you are someone who builds, not just someone who survives. And that is where everything changes.